We're going to take a closer look at Adobe Animate. And Adobe Animate allows you to animate objects, and these objects can be illustrations or photographs or exported type as well. What's cool about Adobe Animate, it can create projects that you can send directly to social media as an animated GIF, export as an MP4, or the projects can be exported as canvas elements, creating divs and HTML that can be integrated into your website directly without the need of playing a video. Also, Adobe Animate projects can be interactive. This is going to show one workflow going through Adobe Animate. There's many different branches you could go into, like character animation, level animation, and so much more. Export from here can be a GIF, MP4, or HTML that can be embedded on your web page. To start out, I'm going to create a new document, file new, or just create new. I'm selecting 1280 by 720 as my canvas size. You can select from some of these presets if you want, like web, and pick a web size and all. I'm going for character animation 1280 by 720. This just deals with the size of the canvas. My frame rates could be 3 frames per second, and please select HTML5 canvas. Clicking on create. Here's my canvas, but the file isn't saved. That's why it says untitled. I'm going to save it, file, save as. I'll call it demo. Here's a timeline, and the way timelines work, where they're dealing with CSS conceptually or looking at a timeline in After Effects, Maya, Blender, wherever else you might be. Here we're in Animate. Your timeline has keyframe moments on it, and then you move in time, moving an object, transforming an object out there on the canvas or within the 3D environment, or with CSS, you're just moving in time and applying new properties to that object, and that change in properties, change in transformations create animation. And that's the general concept. Let me import my first object, which will be the background. File, import, import to stage, selecting my background. It's going to live on its own layer. I'm going to call this layer BG for background. Double clicking to select this object, picking up the transformation tool, select transformation tool, and just holding down the shift key for uniformed transformation. It's okay if it leaks across the canvas, that doesn't matter. And you want that. You want to be able to animate a background, maybe moving left to right. Some navigation. Up here is how big the view is. I'm going to set it down to 75%. You press the space bar and left mouse button, you can pan around your view like this. You also will see scroll bars up here and down here. Space bar in hand, just pan around. This is my BG layer, and I named that layer by double clicking and labeling this layer as BG for background. Let me create a new layer. Clicking the new layer icon right here. There's nothing on it, but what will be on there is my character, which is just my main object. Character doesn't have to be a person, it could be just your hero image. File, import, import to stage, and I'm going to select the PNG, and the reason I'm selecting PNG, this way the alpha will knock out, and we can see the background through it. And there's my character, hello. I'm going to scale down the shift key with the transformation tool. So here's our character. In order to create an animation, we need a change in transformation across time. To do that in this application, I'm going to right-click and select Create Motion Tween. And when I do that, it's going to ask, hey, I'm going to convert this into a symbol. What is a symbol? A symbol is a container, much like divs and block elements are containers with information in it. A symbol has information in it. And the information in this case will be an image. It could be multiple images. Just think of symbols as containers. Clicking on OK. Well, why don't I see my background anymore? Because the background only exists for this one moment in time, and then it disappears. So I should also convert this to a motion tween as well. Now my background exists across time, much like this one does. Both layers. All right, I want to get this animating. So what's our animated story? This character pops up by frame 15, which is half a second later. Let me move this, going to keyframe 1, and I'll just move this down, holding down the shift key for uniform movement, and right there. By frame 15, moving the playback head to frame 15, I'll drag this character upward. Brow, here I am. dinosaur. And I'll play the animation by pressing enter or clicking this icon. Congratulations, we've created an animation that now we can export as a GIF or MP4 as canvas. Let's do a little more to it before we export it. Adding a few more elements, I'm going to click on new layer, and this element will be the title. And then I'll add some leaves in, put some filters on top. Going to frame 1, pulling the playback head to frame 1. File, import to stage. Let me get my title. I could have typed the title here using the text tool. You have some drawing tools. I'm just going through this quick demo. Experiment and see what works best for you. I'm positioning my title over here. I'm going to right click this layer, create motion tween, sure, convert to a symbol. And by frame 15, this is the size that I want. Staycation. I could center it, or I could just leave it up here. I think I'm going to move it up here first. Undo. Let me move it up here. Don't want to center it. So by frame 15, my title resolves. It's going to be right in this position. I'm going to right click and insert a keyframe. And the type of keyframe, all. I want everything to be keyframed at this moment. Let me go back in time to frame 1, selecting this keyframe, and I'll just scale it smaller at frame 1, holding down the Shift key. This is our animation so far. Let me have this fade in. At frame 1, clicking on it, going to under Properties, Object, scrolling on down to Color Effects, type of color effect I'm looking for, not brightness, not advanced, alpha. All right, at frame 1, its alpha of this text will be 0. And then it's going to be at frame 15, going back to Object, alpha 100%. Now we have that fading in like that. I'm going to go under Object, under Filters, clicking on plus, and I'm going to add a drop shadow. The drop shadow type I'm adding is white. Here you can adjust the distance. Right now it's 4. If I had it at 0, just around the text as an outline. This will adjust the degrees, and you could pick a different color if you wanted. Increasing distance increases the offset. So I want to leave it at 0. And for blur X and Y, I'm going to increase that to 10 by 10. This is the animation so far. I'm going to do push in on this scene, which means I'm just going to scale it up. The way I'm going to do this is by selecting all the layers, right-clicking. I'm going to convert all these layers to its own symbol, and the symbol type is a graphic. And all that does, takes all that information and puts it into one symbol out here. Now I'll take this layer, right-click, and I'll apply a motion tween to it. I'm going to scale it smaller. Transformation tools. Remember, this is our canvas size right here. So I could scale it, holding down the Shift key. And by frame 15, I could push in. And all that means scaling this up by frame 15. And now here's a new animation. Adding a little motion to the background. I could shift the place where it's scaling about. This would be center. And dragging this all the way down to the bottom. It's going to scale up from that point. And I think I'm going to leave it like that. Make sure you save your file and have some fun. Explore Adobe Animate. And even though these are great quick settings, to see some extra values that you need, extra properties, you have to go under File, Export. And if I want to animate a GIF, Export Animated GIF. And this brings up a dialog where you can preview the animation by clicking on Play. It also allows you to play with the palettes, but what I'm most interested in here is the type of looping. I just wanted to loop once. If you wanted more abilities for looping, you could take this GIF, import it into Photoshop, and adjust the looping underneath the timeline within Photoshop. Let me play this. So it only is going to happen once and then stop. And then click on Save. And now it's all done. Going to the folder, going to open up a blank browser window and just drag that GIF here. And you would embed it just like you would embed any other image. I'm going to export as MP4, file export, and I'm going to export it as a video. I get some settings. I'm going to choose H.264 and where it's going to live. Here's my demo.mp4. I'm going to do one more exporting, and that's going to be publishing. I'm going to publish it as HTML. Let me jump to that folder. Here I created the demo.js that drives animation, and this is the web page, just double clicking on it. And here's an animation happening over and over again. We lost some of our filters because not all are supported within HTML. The animation is. If I right click, inspect, you can see that this is made up of HTML.